Hello everyone, welcome to a new reading. Today we are doing a random question. So the question in this reading is, how will the whole issue between HYBE and ADOR affect NewJeans? Like, how will this impact them, or how will it get to them, or will the girls be okay during this whole issue? And I want to do something related to this whole issue because it's quite a it was big enough that I was like, what is going on here? But also because I do feel that NewJeans are or might be in a very dangerous position with all of this fighting. Because the way that I see it is like I see HYBE as like the parent company and ADOR is just like one of its branches. So if you cut off a branch, the tree is still standing. So in this case, I feel like if so there's a lot that ADOR has a lot to lose, and the ones that are the fruit that is hanging from this branch is NewJeans. That is the best way I can describe as to why I am concerned about them, especially because when NewJeans had first came out, my sister and I were talking about this, and we were like, based on the person that is behind NewJeans, we were wondering if the group will be okay, and we were very concerned with how things were going to work out for them. So when this whole thing between ADOR and HYBE happened, we were quite we were not surprised it happened, but we were still concerned about the group because they're very young and they're barely starting. So we do want I was wondering how it could affect them. So that's why I'm making this reading, and we're gonna figure out what's going to happen. So to answer the question, with the whole issues that HYBE and ADOR have, how will this affect NewJeans? So we have Orphan. I'll tell you guys this. I usually get this card, but I usually get it reversed. And we have Happy Happy reverse and Treasured Island reverse. So we're gonna read from the book because I really like the reversal messages that the book has. So Operate, it talks a sense of loss, an identity crisis, recognizing that you don't fit in, the need to belong, uncertainty about your place. So it's very obvious. How will the group be affected? Many of them are going to be, what this made me think? When there's big fights like this, it's like, who do you side with? Which one will be the most beneficial? And which one is in alignment with what I want to do? So I do feel that many of the girls are just kind of like, many of them are young, so many of them are probably not even fully aware of what it means to be an idol and like the package that the idol life is put in, or like it comes in. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I don't think they were like thinking too far ahead into their future when they started off in NewJeans. So right now that all of this is happening, also since they're very young, they're still in this stage where like this problem to other people will be like, it'll pass, things will calm down. For them, since they're very young and they're kind of like in the middle of the storm of this, many of them will probably feel like it's the end of the world for them. So this Orphan card is just describing that for them, one of the biggest ways this issue is going to influence them is that many of them are going to start thinking, where do I belong? Where do I stand in this situation? Where do I stand in this problem? And also, since many of them are very young, I don't think many of them can really fully distinguish if they be able to separate their personal opinions from the business part of things. And in this case, there are times when some people, like when you're in a job or something, you're like, I don't really agree with what with the way my boss thinks or whatever, but that doesn't really get in the way of our working environment. So I'm okay with staying here. And I do feel that with them, they're in a place where they can't quite figure out how to separate their personal, like their emotions, their personal opinions, and their professional views of things. Because there are times that people go like, I hate how I hate my job, I hate everything here, but this is what's bringing in the money and helping with my survival, so I'm gonna stick through with it. And other people go like, I hate it here, I'm gonna figure out a way to escape, I'm gonna figure out another means of survival, but get me out of this place, right? So I feel with this orphan card, many of them are still too early in their career to safely say, if things don't work out here, I have this backup plan. So I do feel that there's a lot of pressure and a lot of influence from external energies. You know, the people with their company, the fans, their family, themselves, even within the members in their group, there's a lot of energy like pushing and pulling them that I think it's making it very difficult for the girls individually to think of what the best course of action for themselves. But let's see. Let's read what else the oracle message we have here. So for the orphan card, we were all meant to have connections with other people, within our families, society, and the larger culture. No man is an island, and it's important to recognize when being a part of, rather than separate from, is essential to your well-being. The issue at hand is the need to find where you fit. Be true to your core truths and values. Perhaps you no longer identify with a group or community the way that you did before and need to find a new situation. You may feel a deep sense of loss or confusion. Address the need for belonging and know that you will find your place with others of like mind and spirit. It's okay to let go of pressure to fit in. Not everyone will understand you. It's time to move on. So yeah, I think there's this like, the group is being put in a position where many of them will have to have like this shadow work or this deep knowing of what they want and what they desire and who they are as people. Like this sense is like this situation that they're in is one of the many stepping stones to help them in their journey of maturity and growing as individuals. Now, if we continue reading, we have a relationship message. As you shift and evolve and commit to your own growth, you long for support, but may be disappointed and hurt by others who are not providing what you feel you deserve. Perhaps you're drifting away from this relationship because you're in a different stage of personal growth. Perhaps you're in a new relationship and discovering that you don't share the same values and beliefs, so you feel left out, unable to get to that intimate place of safety and belonging. Take heart, as Spirit knows you and loves you, and will steer you in the direction of those who accept you as you are, without artifice or agenda. Don't compromise yourself to belong, it won't be worth the price. So this is difficult because I do feel a lot of people go through this process in all types of relationships, maybe with themselves, with their environment, or with any sort of people. This is part of maturing, this is part of growing up. This whole idea of, this is also one of the reasons why teenage years go through like so many issues and problems. Many of them are finally figuring out who they want and creating their own independent thought that could be opposing or just separate from the environment that they were in or with the ideas that they grew up with. And because of this, many of them, or in this case for NewJeans, they will go through a situation where they're finally going to understand that sometimes some relationships are not meant to be. Sometimes the working environment that they're in is not right for them. Sometimes the people that they're surrounded with, they don't have to tolerate or they don't have to deal with. And I think many of them are going through, one of the big lessons that they're learning is who to trust, who not to trust, who to keep at arm's length and who to keep very close to them, who is a good support and who isn't. I think one of the big things that they're learning is they're learning who true friends are, in a way. Like how should I put it, even people, they're also learning how to work with someone without putting all their eggs in one basket, right? It's kind of like, I'm working with you, but I know the type of person you are, so I'm going to keep this distance so like that I have enough wiggle room to like run away when things go haywire or when things get crazy. But let's read the last message for the orphan card. So the prosperity message is, this card reminds you that you can't be all things to all people. You are not to be popular with everyone, and that has to be okay with you. Be clear about your mission, your brand, your work persona, and your contribution to the world, as these must be based on what you authentically have to offer, not something you think will sell or you perceive they may want. You will attract abundance by being completely yourself, staying in your own lane. That's where you will shine and where you'll experience prosperity. Which, I mean, yeah, it's this whole idea of like, this is why people tell you just do what you want to do, because you will never make anyone happy. If you're doing something for someone, not only are you making yourself unhappy, but you're also risking that it's going to be worthless, right? Like, you're working towards something to satisfy somebody else, and then you still don't reach the end goal because those people could not be satisfied, right? That's why a lot of people just tell you, just do whatever you want to do, just do what makes you happy, do what you desire, what you want, whatever your goals are. So the reason why people always tell you, go out, chase after your dreams, do what you want to do what makes you happy, is not because it will make the journey easier in the sense of you will never find an obstacle, you will never find stagnation, or there will not be times that you will want to give up. It just means that by doing what you want to do, at least you know that you're making yourself happy. At least you know that you're doing it for your own satisfaction. Because even if you do what you love, you will still encounter people that will not be happy with what you're doing and will be dissatisfied and will criticize you. But at least you're being loyal to yourself. You're doing what you want to do, what makes you happy, what will satisfy you. At the end of the day, you're the one living your life, so make sure you make the best out of it, right? So I do feel that with this orphan card, that is the main thing that the girls will be learning. But at the moment, they're experiencing the hardship that comes with the destruction in order for them to go through this transformation of self-knowing, self-discovery. And just, they're just going through the emotional things, and they're just eventually what they're going to come out of this whole situation is to, and I think that's where it's leading us here, is to know who to trust, and that they should prioritize themselves as people and as individuals. Does not mean that they have to work on their own and just do everything by themselves, but it's more like learning how to work with other people but not depend on them, and to not rely on them and care so much about their opinions and their thoughts. At the end of the day, they're not living their life and they're not living through their situation, their journey. Everyone is going through their own thing at their own pace, focusing on their own thing. And I feel that this orphan card is just highlighting that the biggest influence that the group is going to have with all of these issues is for them to just focus more on themselves and grow as individuals, so that they have more of this independent thought. But let's go on to the next card with the Treasure Island reverse. We will read the protection message. So, poverty, consciousness, and a sense of not enough cast a shadow on your path. These ideas and core beliefs come with a high cost. Do you really want to proclaim yourself a victim of disappointment and failed expectations? Are you avoiding success because you will grow so tall that others will want to cut you down? Or is it possible that you're caught in a fear that you will lose what you have acquired, so you hold on so tight that you miss the opportunities to expand? You are challenged to change the way you see the world and move from a perception of limitations to a perception of abundance. Take a risk, for you have nothing to lose except your confinement in a prison of your own making. Open the door and find the abundance waiting for you to claim it. So there are times that sometimes people get criticized so much that they start fearing success. They start fearing the spotlight. And the spotlight doesn't necessarily mean famous, or not necessarily. Sometimes being under the spotlight is just like being in your own element, and then you just have people criticize you for it, right? So sometimes this can be as small as within your own home, as small as within your own community. And this community could be your neighborhood, or it could be like the community or like the group that you're part of. So if you're part of a club and then you're very good at it, but because of that you have a lot of eyes looking at you, then a lot of people could still criticize you if you do something wrong, or because there's envy and jealousy that comes in. So because of that, sometimes people can reach this fear of success. I know it may sound a little bit like self-centered to have someone be afraid of success, or being afraid of their talents, or being afraid of just doing well in life, right? You think that it's intuitive to strive for success and achieving great things in life. But sometimes some people fear that because they don't want to be criticized, or they don't want to feel disappointed, or they're afraid of what other people will say when they reach that top. And I do feel that for the group, they may reach that point where they're going through so much conflict, or there's so much conflict surrounding their environment, that they're afraid of going out into the spotlight. They're afraid of chasing their popularity and their own success as a group. You know also what I'm getting? Since there's so many fights with the higher ups, there could have been a lot of times where some people create like this very competitive environment, especially in the industry that they're in. Is like, oh, we have to beat these groups, we have to do better than these groups, when in reality the people, like the members, get along with those other groups. They're like, those people are not bad, I'm actually very good friends with someone in that group, why are we competing, right? And I do feel that this is one of the issues when you have these industries, right? Like the fight is like with the higher ups, is with the business people, it is a fight of egos, but the ones that get affected are the groups that are underneath this higher ups. Is And also because of the fights that fandoms are having, it's like it happens often that fandoms have fight with each other when the people that they're talking about and they're trying to defend and attack or whatever don't hate each other, or they probably don't even know each other, or maybe they're even very good friends. Like, it happens a lot, even within within a fandom, within a group, that people are like, you have solo stands that are like fighting each other for like a certain position or whatever, but then you look at the group and you're like, believe me, they're just getting their job done and trying to get their paycheck. And other times you're like, I swear they get along, I don't know why you guys are fighting. Yeah, all I'm saying is that for NewJeans, they're going to start feeling this whole thing of, since they're going through the motions and there's a lot of conflict surrounding them, they may feel a bit afraid of wanting more, desiring more, or just being under the spotlight. But I think that's because everything is still quite tense. We will see how things kind of work out at the end. But one of the things that I thought this card was going to talk about is like fool's gold. This whole idea of something that glitters very brightly, but in the inside it's still trash. I thought it was going to talk about that. So I thought that for the group, one of the things that they were going to learn as a consequence of what is going on is this whole idea of like, they will acknowledge that just because something seems like a good opportunity does not mean that will pan out in a successful way. I thought that message was going to come through on the cards, but I will say it anyways because it came through channeled, not necessarily in the cards themselves. But let's go on to the very last card, which is the Happy Happy card reverse. So let's read the protection message of that one. So we have, lighten up, because this is the time to be ridiculous and silly. See the world through the eyes of a clown and don't take yourself or any situation right now too seriously. Have fun, be playful, and make laughter the order of the day. You'll be surprised by how everything just seems to fall into place when humor leads the way. Being happy and lighthearted is a wonderful icebreaker. Life is meant for play as well as work, for laughter as well as tears, for celebration as well as focus. Spirit wants to sparkle through you today. Smile and enjoy each breath and each moment. Miracles lie in the silly things today. So again, it's like there will be a happy ending. At the moment, they're going through a very rough time, so they may want to hide from their success, I do feel that NewJeans has a lot of potential to continue succeeding. They have cemented a very stable foundation with the general public, so I do feel that if NewJeans continues with this very lighthearted and fun sound, they will continue succeeding in the general public. I do think they will continue charting pretty well. And if that's the case, then that means that the group still has a lot of potential for great success. And this Happy Happy card is like, they can experience success within the group, but if things don't work out as a group, they will still be able to find their own success as individuals. And I do want you guys to be mindful that finding their own success as individuals does not mean that they will all continue in the music industry. As much as they would just, or even if they do continue the music industry, many of them will have already found their happy place. And what I mean by this is that there's many people that could continue in the music industry, but they're happy because they're still doing their own thing. Some people start venturing into other parts of the industry, some start acting, some start into fashion, some start to be a bit more involved in the music. Other people just kind of relax and continue with the music industry, but behind the scenes they're just doing their own thing. And I do feel that with a group, they're going to eventually reach that point where they're like, this tough moment will pass and we will grow as individuals. We will learn from this moment. We will transform into these new people with this new knowledge and these new experiences. So I do feel that there is a happy ending for them. I don't necessarily know how that will look like, or how that will look like to us in the external, public view, and how that will look like for them as individuals. But there is this sense of reassurance that things will get better. It's just that at the moment things are very tense, very harsh, and the momentum of things are still happening, so nothing has really settled quite yet. And if anything, I do feel that this was just a very big scandal that will still have rippling effects of destroying things, but I don't feel that it will hurt the group too much. Not I don't think it will hurt their brand. If anything, this will, it happens that there's some companies that do a bunch of things that you go like, and they're still managing. Like, how are they still alive as a company? How is our brand not being thrown through the mud and like completely destroyed? So I do feel that with NewJeans, that's what's going to happen. Like, there's a lot of fights with the higher ups. It's a fight of egos, a fight of like, I will succeed with what I'm doing, and so on, so on. But I think the group will still be fine. Their brand will not be affected. I think it has cemented itself enough to survive and stay afloat despite all of these issues. But before we end up this reading, let's just take out some tarot just to see anything else that has to be said. So how, with the whole fights that HYBE and ADOR have had, how will this affect NewJeans? So we have the Six of Pentacles. Yeah, there's still a lot of good fortune. I think a lot of people will like to extend their hand to help the group. So if the company does end up like falling through or whatever, I think there is a lot of people that will look forward for the group's success, or will look forward to work with the group or with the members. So if things, like, it's kind of like if things don't work out in this form that we see it as, it will work out in a different one. So there's good fortune up ahead for the group. Okay, the other card that came out is the Lovers. So the Lovers talks about opportunities, communication, and this Gemini energy. So this kind of makes me think that, especially since it's underneath the Orphan card, it's kind of like confirmation or like synchronicity of sorts. Okay, if you look at the Major Arcana as the journey of the Fool, then the Lovers is a stage where the Fool is finally breaking free from what they've learned as they were growing up, what they learned from their community and from established institutions, and they're finally following their own passions, their own desires, and thinking for themselves. So the Lovers is supposed to represent a part where it's a rebellious stage of sorts. I mean, the Lovers is supposed to, usually shows the imagery of Adam and Eve. It's like this whole idea of like the knowledge that someone gets gives them the ability for them to think for themselves and kind of break free from a comfortable place, but still it was a place that was restricting, which the Orphan card was kind of talking about, being like, well, I think it was actually the Treasure Island, being under your own prison, because I was thinking of the Eight of Swords when I was reading the message for the Treasure Island. So it's like breaking free from this prison that you've put upon yourself with these mental obstacles and this ideas of overthinking, maybe lacking self-worth, and so on. So with the Lovers, it feels like the group will notice that there's good fortune out there for them despite all the issues that have been going on. And I think right now that they have had their comeback after all this huge scandal just went boom on everyone, I think the group is finally encountering the good and the bad of the situation, and they're formulating their own thoughts. I do feel that a lot of truths are coming out that will cause many of them to formulate their own opinions, and I don't know in which favor it will look like for us as the outside viewers, but do know that it will be at least heavily influenced by their own thoughts and their own ideas. So they're still young, but I do feel that they will end up in the right path for themselves, the path that will help them grow and develop and mature for their own journey, basically. So let's see what else the cards have to say. Yeah, we have the Devil. So this card is perfect. So I mentioned the Eight of Swords when I was reading, well, not when I was reading, but after reading the Treasure Island, the whole idea of like putting yourself in this prison, not wanting to be under the spotlight, not wanting to be seen. Well, the Devil to me is like the established, cemented, hardcore version of the Eight of Swords. Because the Eight of Swords talks about someone that is blinded to their reality, and that's why they are under a mental prison that they've put themselves in. And the Devil talks about being under the illusion of something, and therefore you feel trapped and chained. Like you can't move forward, you can't move on. And to me, also the Devil's Capricorn energy, but to me, the Devil has always talked about society. It's always the whole idea of feeling like you have to do something a certain way because that's what society said. Like, these are the rules, this is the established way, this is the conventional way of doing things. So to me, the Devil has always symbolized society. How many of us put ourselves in like, oh, I'm not successful because I haven't met these things, or I'm not doing it right because this is how people usually do things to achieve a certain goal or be in a certain place in life. So I do feel that for the group, they may feel a little bit like that. Like there's a little bit of a like an imposter syndrome of like, did we become successful too quickly? Is this not right? Where it's just like everyone's different, everyone has a different path. Some people take like a very long time to start seeing results for their hard work, and other people see results very quickly. Like they hit the trends at the right at the right time, the right place, or they become viral and they're able to benefit from that viral energy. While others like a very big spark, they become very viral with one thing that they did and then it fizzles out. And I do feel that with NewJeans, they will slowly learn to make their own decisions, think for themselves, but for some time they will want to stay hidden. And the reason why they want to stay hidden is because it makes me think of the hermit energy, is like having to do some shadow work. The best way that you can start thinking for yourself is by separating yourself from other people's influence, other people's thoughts, and other people's comments. And I do feel that with this Devil card, many of them will start noticing how they're being held back, and how it could be through other people's opinions or like the fear of disappointing others. But they're going to break free from that, I feel. But let's get like one last, well, one last card. Oh my god, these cards are huge. Hold up, give me one more. Give me one more, just for the balance of this reading. Yeah, okay, the Two of Swords. So they have very big cards with these three major arcanas. With the Lovers, we have Gemini energy. With the Devil, we have Capricorn energy. And with Judgment, we have Pluto energy, which is Scorpio. So with Judgment, there is a sense of there will be justice will be served. There will be a super big transformation. Because in the Judgment card, usually we have like this angel on the top with like this like trumpet or something. And it's like waking up the dead. It's like people coming back from the dead, and it's supposed to symbolize. It's a metaphor that is supposed to symbolize like this wake up call, or people that are going through this rebirth type of moment. It's like Judgment Day. It's like, okay, what have you learned? What have you, how much have you grown from this experience, right? And also, Judgment makes me think of like justice is being served in the sense of like the people, everyone is being put on their place. It is also making it like it to me. This Judgment card feels like a combination of justice and Saturn energy. When people have their Saturn return, is this whole idea of being tested. It's like you were put under these limitations, and through time, you have been put through a lot of challenging tests. What have you learned, and how much have you grown? And I do feel that with NewJeans, they will experience that, especially since it's under the happy card. It makes me think that one of the big things, or one of the big ways that the group will be affected through this whole fight between HYBE and ADOR, is that many of them are going to start following their heart, are going to start going through their own journey. Many people will be put in their place, and because of that, everything will eventually be stable again, or everything will go back to its rightful place. So that makes me think it's like the people that were put in, so the group that was put in a very tight position because of external conflict will eventually have stability again when that external conflict is put to rest. Now, when I mean put to rest, I don't necessarily mean that all of a sudden HYBE and ADOR are going to like get along and be best friends. No. It just means that things will cool down enough that they're not fighting for the general public to see. Like, I think that we have gotten enough of a fight. I think it would just be a matter of time for people to kind of just bring this up as like, oh, remember that time when this happened, and not so it's just not as fresh on people's minds. That's what I'm getting at. Like, don't get me wrong, fans will always bring this up whenever they have an opportunity, whenever they have a chance. It's just a matter of time for things to cool down enough, so at least it's not the first thing people think of when they're talking about these groups, or when these groups are taking stuff out, right? But with the judgment card, I'm just getting that one of the biggest ways that the group will also be affected is that many of them will start to think for themselves. I do feel that under all this pressure and all this hardship, many of them were able to see who was on their side and who wasn't on their side. So some relationships will completely burn, some bridges are completely gone, and some relationships were solidified a bit more. I do feel that I do feel that this could be applied with some of the other groups that were affected by this. I think everyone was touched to a different extent. Again, the only reason why I'm focusing on NewJeans is not only because I just took something out, but because I do feel that if you have a whole tree, as I mentioned in my metaphor earlier in this reading, they are the hanging fruit of this branch that can easily be cut off. And that's why I was worried about them. So yeah, lastly, with the Two of Swords, it makes me think that decisions will have to be made. I don't know if this will be specifically for the group, like for the members, or if they will be put in a situation where they will have to make a choice. So for example, if a door is, potentially, if the company that they're under just completely falls through, will the group have to make a choice of who to go to? Like when you have divorced parents, do you make a choice? Do you go with mom? Do you go with dad? Who do you go with? So with a group, I don't know if they will be put in a situation where they will have to make a choice, because the Two of Swords talks about making a choice. Do I follow this path, or do I follow this other path? Or the Two of Swords could be like, do I stay with this mentality, or do I stay with this other mentality? So I don't know if the group will have to make a choice in the sense of like, who do I go with for the success of my career? Or if this Two of Swords is just saying, will they have to make a choice of like, do I stay or do I go within my industry? Like, I don't know what the choices are here, but the group will have to make a choice. Again, I don't know if it's as a group or as individuals, but they will definitely have to kind of start setting their mind on a certain thing. One of the things that I will tell you though, one choice that they will definitely have to make is, do I stay in this when judgment day comes? Do I stay in this devil energy where I will feel trapped, where I will want to stay hidden and away from the world? Or do I stay in this world, this mentality of the lovers, where I'm finally thinking for myself and doing my own thing? Now, I want you to keep in mind that to you guys, it may seem obvious. Be in the lover's energy, do what you want to do what makes you happy. But you have to keep in mind that part of their growth is to understand that even if they do what feels will make them happy, does not mean that it will be an easy journey. And just because they stay on their comfort zone does not mean that they will be having an easy journey. This is just up to each individual. This is just how it works in life. Many of us we go through challenges and difficult situations, and we just have to make a decision. Do I stay in this situation, or do I do something about it, right? At least as a simplified form of the complexity that someone will go through for their own individual situation and hardships, right? Anyway, I hope you guys liked this reading. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's hope that things turn out well for NewJeans, and let's hope that they continue bringing us very good music. I do hope that they stay safe and that they are not super badly hurt by this whole situation. I think their brand is still doing fine based on how their comeback is going. I don't think too much has been disrupted quite yet. I don't know how, in the mess of this storm, how things will happen, but at least for the oracle, we got to see that at the end there will be a happy ending and things will settle down. I just don't know how long it will take for this to happen, but at least the cards say that there's a promising future for them. Anyway, I will leave this here. I will see you guys on the next one, whenever that is, however that is. As I mentioned earlier, I hope you guys like this reading, find it entertaining, or at least learn from it. And yeah, thank you so much for all the love and support you have shown me and the channel. Make sure that you continue supporting NewJeans and praying that everything turns out well for them. And yeah, love and healing from my part to you, and bye.